Just when I thought the UK had a chance to save itself, in comes Truss with the ghost of trickle-down economics in a wheelchair. Trickle down, trickle down, trickle down. Every time they want to pull a fast one, they pull trickle down out their back pockets. The only thing that's trickling is the liquid running down your back that they are telling you is rain. This neo-whatever policy has been done to death over and over again. At this point, trickle down is like prohibition. We all now know that it doesn't work, so why are we still doing it? The basic premise of this stupid theory is that leaving more wealth in the hands of quote-unquote job creators affords them to spare liquidity to raise wages, invest, and start new businesses. To create jobs, essentially. Except, that's not what happens. See, what you're doing here is you're trusting psychopathic leeches to have a sense of quid pro quo, to have a belief in a social contract. You scratch my back, I scratch yours, that kind of thing. The only problem is that they are psychopathic leeches who don't care for anything or anyone beyond getting on the Forbes list and bragging over where they went on holiday. Guess what? The overwhelming number of these people, these job creators, so to speak, they don't flipping raise wages or pull the lower class from the floor when you deduct taxes from them. I shouldn't have to tell you this. If they did pull people from the floor, the lower classes, why is your purchasing power lagging inflation for decades now? Why can you not afford a home? So obviously this policy does not work. It's such an insulting lie because it presumes that we are stupid enough to believe it. The entire concept of trickle-down becomes even dumber in a globally connected economy. No, Mr. Billionaire isn't going to reinvest in the poorer areas of the country. He isn't going to raise wages for his employees. He isn't going to boost productivity to the point he ends up actually paying more in taxes. What he is going to do is he's going to park the spare cash that you've allowed him to keep through your tax deductions. He's going to put that in real estate in Hong Kong. He's going to put it in the US stock market. He's going to buy a bigger boat. He's going to give it to a Swiss banker to hide for him. He's going to pay an African dictator for access to oil reserves. That's what he's going to do with that tax deduction. This trickle-down crap doesn't work because they don't trickle it down to you. They kick it up to their friends. I'll tell you what he won't do. He certainly won't lift the working poor off the floor. So let's move on. Another way that the lower classes are getting kicked where the sun doesn't shine. Look at this housing market. How do you compete with an entire corporation? How? They have access to the cheapest money. They can get liquidity from anywhere. They have spare tax deduction cash that you definitely don't. How are you going to come up against that? There's very little that you can do. And these corporations, when they enter the arena, when they come into the housing market, they further push up housing prices. And you're already on your tiptoes just to try to touch those housing prices. Home ownership, I think, is becoming completely impossible because of these corporations entering into the market. And do you know what's causing all this? It all goes back to central banking policy. Don't let these pseudo-private entities off the hook, these central banks. There's an excess of inflation in the system right now. And that excess of inflation has made yield harder and harder to find in markets that have already matured. As a result of this, a lot of companies are springing up and looking for yield in the housing market. But the goal isn't to flip the property like it was in 2008. No. These companies are now really happy to collect rent from entire neighborhoods. No selling necessary, no flipping necessary. With consistent income in the form of multi-rent payments from an entire neighborhood, they can use those payments as collateral to get further liquidity, which they will use to buy up more neighborhoods. You guessed it. Rinse and repeat. We're in the last 5 minutes of a Monopoly game where one player has all the properties. He's charging crazy rent, and there's nothing you can do about it. Jean-Pierre, sharpen the guillotine.